Hello and welcome back to the OTB channel. So it's been 3 months since I've uploaded a video, and during that time I've had lots of messages of people asking me if I'm okay, what's happening with the channel, etc, etc. So I thought it was time that I produce like an interim video just to answer those questions, and also to perhaps look at whether or not the channel's reached the end of its natural life and I should be considering retiring it. Anyway, I'll answer all of those questions after the intro. Right, welcome back. I don't know, you lot are worriers, aren't you? So let's start by answering that question. Is it time for the channel to retire? I don't think so, is my honest answer. I will admit that I have thought to myself a few times, okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit stale. The channel's just hit 20,000 subs. Has it reached the end of its natural life because I'm running out of things that I really want to say? And perhaps I should get out, while things are still going well. I don't think I'm going to do that. It has been an option that I've thought about, but I've decided I'm not there yet. Eventually, I probably will retire the channel when I get to the point of thinking that I've got nothing else to contribute. And I will get to that point, I'm sure. But at the moment, I think I still do have something to contribute. So the channel won't be going anywhere. What I am doing at the moment, though, is I'm taking a break. I've been off for 3 months. I'm certainly going to be off for a few weeks more. The primary reason is that I've got a new bike, and I'll talk about that a little in a minute. And producing these videos does take up the whole of a Saturday afternoon. And to be honest, I've just had other things I've wanted to do. I've also been incredibly busy at work, and I've been getting other jobs done that have needed to be done. Finally got the fence fixed in my back garden, which got blown down a few years ago. And it's now brilliant. It's all up. It's got a concrete base and posts, and I got somebody in to do it. It took weeks and weeks to sort and ended up costing me $3,000. So that was painful, but it's all good now. In terms of health, I've not had the virus, so I've been very lucky as far as that's concerned. But I have suffered quite a few coughs and colds and other viruses and bugs that have been going around over the last 3 months. So there have been times when, I've not felt that brilliant, but I think that's just par for the course for a guy in his 60s who smokes 40 fags a day and has done for 47 years, that I'm going to be prone to things like chest infections and bugs on occasion. But nothing out of the ordinary, just the standard stuff. Having said that, I took this 3 months off last year, or just a little bit longer last year. And I took it off again to play on my new bike at the time, and I felt so much better when I came back. And that is really all this is about. Is the channel going to be going back to, a rigid once-a-week schedule? In all honesty, I think probably not. I think it's more going to be about producing a video when I feel I have something to say and focusing only on those subjects that I find interesting. And the subjects I find the most interesting are things like the Slackware videos I've done and the window managers that I've done. I probably tend to enjoy the review videos less. Strangely enough, though, they get the most views. So they will continue, but I certainly don't want to get to the point where on a Saturday morning I'm thinking to myself, what should I do? I can't think of anything to say. In the past, I probably would have gone digging around for a subject to talk about, but if that happens in the future, I'll likely say, oh well, nothing to talk about today, I'll do something else. So, not retiring, but I'm just going to kind of adopt a more relaxed pace. I have been watching, all the other YouTubers out there who produce far more videos per week than I've ever done. And I don't think I ever want to be in the position that they put themselves in, as hard as they work, because it always seems to me that some of the videos they put out are fillers, because they feel, because of the YouTube algorithm, they have to keep up with a particular schedule. Well, I'm not going to get trapped into that pattern. So yes, things will be up and running, but they will be up and running at more of a relaxed pace, I would say. And certainly not this month, because amazingly enough, September, and we've still got pretty good weather. So let's get to the main reason for the break that I've taken: motorbikes. Right. So, regular viewers of this channel will know that last year I went and bought myself a Royal Enfield 650 Interceptor. Probably not the most sensible thing to do for a guy in his 60s who hasn't ridden a motorcycle for 35 years, but it's got nothing to do with being sensible. I wanted one, and I finally took the decision that if I didn't get one and throw my leg over it and go burning around the Lancashire countryside on it, I was fast approaching an age where I probably wouldn't be able to do it anyway. So it was time to go. And, in my younger days, I had lots of motorbikes, very large motorbikes. At one point, I was even a police motorcyclist. But let me tell you that old saying, it's like riding a bike, that it'll come back to you straight away, was not quite that straightforward. So when I got this bike, here's the picture now. When I got that bike, I thought to myself initially, right, I'm just going to get something relatively small, a 650, although a 650 is not that small. But it took me, a month or two to start feeling comfortable. It just felt very unwieldy, and I found I'd lost all my confidence initially. And it did take 5-6 weeks or so before I started to get my confidence back, and the old skills started to re-emerge, and I really started to enjoy it. And by the end of last year, I really was throwing it into the corners on Lancashire countryside, country roads, and loving it. To the extent that I thought, maybe a 650 was a little bit small. It's perhaps time to upgrade. So this year, I inquired about how much I could get for the Interceptor, and I was lucky. I managed to sell it for a little bit more than I owed on the finance, and I had in mind that I wanted to get a 1200 RT BMW. Don't know why. I've just had that in mind for a while. It's something, or the equivalent I used to drive back in the day. 800 BMWs, etc., that were fully fared. And so I got myself one. Couldn't afford to buy it outright or even take finance on it, so I've done a lease purchase thing on it because it was stupid money, even though it's only a 2018 model. Could have bought 2 Interceptors outright for the money I've paid for it. But anyway, so I got this beautiful 1200 RT. Here's a picture. So, was it a good decision? In all honesty, for the first month, I thought I'd made a crazy mistake. It was so much more powerful, and here's the big thing, so much heavier than the Interceptor that I lost all my confidence, and the thing terrified me. Now, I've never liked being terrified, so what I tend to do is face up to it. And I just kept taking it out and taking it out and taking it out until I started to get my confidence and started to feel comfortable again on it. In the early days, though, honestly, I was just so scared of throwing it into a corner because of the weight. I was hanging on to it for grim death. And honestly, if you'd seen me going round a roundabout on it, tottering round like an old woman, I felt embarrassed. However, it did, as I knew it would, eventually click. And in the last 3 to 4 weeks, it's clicked. And I'm starting to get used to the weight. I've lost that psychological thing where you think, oh my God, I can't put this into a corner. And I'm really starting to enjoy it now. So I'd say it's taken me a couple of months to actually enjoy going out on it every week, because initially the first month or so was terrifying. I had to grit my teeth before I went out on it. But I'm now at the point where I'm really enjoying where I'm at. And I may, and I've talked about this before, I may eventually do some, moto vlogs where I wear a little GoPro on the helmet and I talk about Linux. I do a vlog while I'm on the road. I've got all the kit now. The only reason I haven't done one of these so far is because I haven't really felt that comfortable with the bike. But we're moving to a stage now where I do. So you may see some of that happening. What you won't see this year is the bike behind me in the cabin. And that's a shame, really, because I like to put it away in the winter, but the BMW is not going to be put away in the winter. And the one reason for it is that the doorway into this cabin is about 12 inches off the ground. So I have to use a ramp. And I bought myself a ramp for the Enfield, but it's nowhere near big enough for the BMW and certainly wouldn't take the weight. And the ramp I've got for the Enfield also has like little hooks at the end, so I can hook them onto the door frame to prevent the ramp sliding down. And to get something similar for this BMW looks to be about £400-500 worth, and it's just not going to happen. So it's probably going to live outside during the winter. The upside to that is it doesn't rain every single day in the UK during the winter. So it does mean that I'll be able to make the most of any dry days we get throughout the year, which is probably better for the bike overall. Because last year, and I know I looked at some of the days and I thought it'd be great if I got the bike out, but actually getting it out of this cabin and down a ramp was a bit of a precarious experience that I didn't particularly enjoy. So a bit of a change, but that's where I'm up to. How long am I going to keep this before I perhaps change it again? Probably a couple of years. I've started watching quite a lot of motorbike vlogs on YouTube. I'm currently watching a guy called the $1 Million Bogan, who's an Australian guy who rides Harley Davidson all over the world into conditions where you should really never take one. And I'll admit that it's sort of generated a little bit of a hankering for a Harley, so that may well happen at some point in the future. But anyway, so that's what's happening with the channel. That's what's happening with my bikes. I suppose I better talk about something Linux related. So, right, what's been going on Linux-wise in my life? Not a huge amount, to be honest. I still run Linux on all my laptops and obviously on this workstation, and this workstation is the only computer I have at the moment running Arch. And to be honest, I've only been coming in and switching this on every 2-3 weeks and running an update. The last one of which, by the way, caught me with this new grub bug, and it started doing a boot loop. It's an easy fix. I hadn't seen anything on the internet about it. This was before that. But all I needed to do was to boot with an Arch ISO, mount the partitions, chroot into the system and reinstall grub, and all was good. So not exactly a disaster. So this is up and running. But everything else I'm still running Slackware on, and I don't think that's going to change. Slackware tends to make me a bit lazy. They're all set up my systems. Slack package sorts out my updates. SBO tools sorts out all of my Slack build updates. And what I tend to do, I've got a private repo on GitLab, is once I've updated all my Slack builds on my system, I kind of save all of those built packages to my private GitLab repo, and I just download them and I install them as is on all my other laptops. So I don't have to keep building all the packages again and again. Bottom line is, though, I can use all of the packages that I use every day on Slackware. And what a system it is. I'm quite proud of many of the videos I've produced on Slackware. I'm hoping that some of my videos might have generated a bit more interest in this very old distro, which may be old, but is by no means, behind the times. It's still got brand new packages on it. And I think that's probably where I'll stay for certainly the foreseeable. It's something about its simplicity that I love. What I may do, I may start looking at some of the Slackware derivatives when I look at doing some distro reviews. I'm not really aware of them at the moment. I need to dig into that and find out a little bit. But it's going to be a case of watch this space. So Slackware, yeah, great distro. No real interest in moving from it. I've kept Arch on this main system, again, simply because it's got everything set up that I need to produce videos, so I couldn't see a reason for changing this over, although Slackware would have done a tremendous job. And despite all the naysayers who still say that, Arch is, unstable, I think we've just passed the 3-year point that I've had this particular installation on this computer. This was an installation that I installed the Arch way, a text-based installation, and I've not really had any problems. There's been the odd little thing that's happened, such as this grub error, but they've been few and far between, and all of them have been fixed with little or no effort. And to be honest, this grub thing that's just happened, I know I was asked on my Facebook group, oh, well, it's all very well you saying just shroot into the system and, reinstall grub. What if you don't know how to do that? Well, it's time to learn, isn't it? That's how we learn, fixing our systems. I wonder how many people have done a reinstall, though. Crazy. You just don't need to do it. It's a minor thing. But anyway, that aside. So Arch has been good for me as well. A few things that I have noticed over the last 3 months. There was a major upgrade of Xmonad, which broke my configuration completely. Now, I had Xmonad on this machine, but I never used it, to be honest. And so I had the decision, do I rebuild the config or do I just get rid? And I took the decision to just wipe Xmonad off everything. If an update is going to break your configuration and then you've got to try and figure out in Haskell how to fix it, I'm afraid that just goes over and above what I'm prepared to do. Qtile did something similar a while back, and I removed Qtile as well. My main systems, I use DWM 90% of the time. It works on all my systems. I'm still using on occasion my Fluxbox build if I need a floating window manager, and I've also got my i3 build, which I go into occasionally. But DWM is my go-to, and has been for quite a while now. And again, I can't see that changing. Have I tried anything else? I have in the last week. I keep seeing videos, especially by the likes of Matt from the Linux Cast, really kind of bigging up Fedora. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to give this a quick spin. I had an mSATA card in one of my ThinkPads, and it had an old copy of Windows on that I'd never bothered deleting. And I thought, I know, I'll just install Fedora on there and see what I think. Now, when I tried Fedora last, which is going back some time, I think I used the Mate spin, and I wasn't impressed. And people in the comments had said, oh, you should use the GNOME build because that's the one they concentrate on getting it right. So I thought, well, I'm not going to use GNOME anyway. The first thing I'm going to do is install DWM on it. So, does it really matter? So I installed it, and first impressions, Anaconda, the installer, is horrible. It is horrible. When I got to the partitioning stage, it is so unintuitive in terms of how you partition the disk as you want it. And as I want it is dead simple. I wanted to create an ESP partition and a root partition, ext4. I did not want to accept their defaults. For some reason, I just couldn't get it to do that. I'm sure it's user error. But in the end, I just went the automatic route. I lost patience with it. So I ended up installing Fedora, and I booted up into what is probably, to my mind, the most horrible looking GNOME that I've seen in a long time. I'm not a fan of GNOME, as you know. I think their philosophy and politics are despicable, and I just don't like the GNOME interface. And so I really wasn't in that for very long. You know my feelings on GNOME. I'm never going to review it. The best implementation that I've seen so far is Pop, which I could live with if I was tortured quite badly. But even then, I'd rather not. So anyway, I got on and installed all the Xorg stuff and installed DWM and got my Fluxbox configured and installed and got my i3 configured and installed and sorted out concurrent downloads and faster mirror and all the rest. And it's fine. Yeah, no problem with it. I've been able to find most of the packages that I need from the RPM Fusion repo. Haven't needed to resort to Flatpaks at all. The only package that I haven't found so far is the little utility that I use to generate a Fluxbox menu with icons, FB Menu Gen. And I would have compiled it, but some of the required Perl binaries that it needs, I can't see are actually within the Fedora ecosystem at the moment. So I haven't looked that hard. So that's the only thing I'm missing so far. So Fedora, I suppose once you get into just using window managers and your own configured versions of particular systems, it doesn't really matter what distro you use as long as you can customize it for yourself. And Fedora looks exactly the same. Fedora DWM looks exactly the same as DWM on Slackware or DWM on Arch, because at the end of the day, I'm using my own config. So yeah, it's okay. Has it got any features that are making me think at the moment, wow, I must move? In all honesty, no. You know, it's fine. That's about as much as I'm going to say. So I think that probably brings today to an end. I just wanted to do a short interim video. I'm fine, guys. I will be back. I'm not sure when, in a few weeks' time, probably as we go into October, in all honesty. Thanks for your support. I've been surprised that you know, I think I've put on an extra 800 or 900 subs even while I've been off, and it's taken us over the 20,000 sub mark, and we're fast approaching 200 videos. So the channel is building slowly but steadily, and will continue in due course, possibly with a more relaxed view about how the channel should operate. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for your time, and have a great weekend.